Willkommen and bienvenue. Welcome once again to another one of my live streams. I'm very pleased to have with me the gentleman himself, which you may have recognized from 10 o'clock yesterday morning when, shameless plug here, the property quorum was in full effect. Here he is today from Search and Convey, talking about all the bits and the iniquities of what's involved in the property market, specifically from the back end, as the actress said to the bishop. So the whole point is there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that slows it up or speeds it up, depending on your point of view. And today we're talking about what, Hamish? We're talking about local authority searches.
Yeah.
Do they hold up?
Good question.
And we have a special guest. Would you introduce her before I bring her to the stage?
Certainly, we have actually a long time sort of colleague of mine, and so it's a rarity today. We had a special Women's International Day event last week, and so we've got a special day today because the first time that Heather and I have appeared together as a team.
Here she is.
Hello.
Welcome again. Thank you very much for taking part. Now, Heather, he said in a leading manner, I believe something special happened.
Yes, so both Hamish and I have been on the executive board of IPSA for a number of years. IPSA is the Association of Independent Personal Search Agents. I've been a member of the executive board there for 7 years. Hamish has been, I think, 2 or 3 years, is it, Hamish?
It's 20, so I think it's 3. I can't. About 3 and a half.
So recently we received the news that our previous chairman, Andrew Prismall, was going to be resigning. So we've had a number of behind the scenes meetings over the last week or so. And this morning we had an extraordinary general meeting of IPSA at which Hamish was elected chairman and I was elected as chief executive. So we will be working together to take the IPSA team forward.
If only I could put up some virtual confetti about now. Well done, both of you. So what does this mean, Hamish? What's it mean for moving forward? Can you predict anything? What's going on?
Well, we're very fortunate, actually. We were left with, we've got a tremendous board behind us with an absolute wealth of experience, all to do with the support that we actually give property lawyers in terms of the local authority searches, mainly because, if you like, that's a specialism of ours. But we do have this sort of key factor as well. We've got tremendous software which enables us to provide anything really that the conveyancing solicitor or a conveyancer generally is going to require outside of the legal bits and pieces which they do. And all of that's available through our sort of membership of IPSA, the Association of Independent Property Search Agents, which is quite a mouthful, which is why we prefer to call it IPSA.
And being independent is something we've banged on about many times on this channel.
Absolutely, but the great thing about it, and our brand, is called IPSA Searches.
Yeah.
So we have a team of people, the local experts. That's perhaps not the right word, because they're the people with local knowledge to cover each of the councils throughout England and Wales. So it doesn't matter where anybody is in England and Wales. Our team between us, and it's not just Heather and I, of course, it's that the vast number of people there who go back. Some of them go back to the 90s. In fact, we do have one that goes back to the 80s, who's been working since the 80s in local authority searches. We have ex-land charges officers, so they used to work from the councils. So by golly, do they know what they're doing. But we're all independent. This is a great thing. We're independent businesses, but we work as a team.
Yes.
Fantastic. So, okay, well, then I think it's time we turned our attention to the core topic today. Do they hold up? Does a local authority search hold up? What are your thoughts, Heather?
Well, it depends. It very much depends on where you are and who you're using to provide your local authority search. If you're going direct to a local authority, And we were discussing this morning, there are, I think, in the region of 320 still. It changes as they become unitary and the number goes up and down. But every council runs their land charges department slightly differently. So some will be able to return your local authority search within 24 hours. Some will be able to do it in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. That's the local authority side. But then we also have our independent agents like myself, like Hamish and our firms. And we can also provide searches fairly quickly. But again, sometimes we are restricted with the access that the local authority will allow us to have. So some councils are really helpful and they allow us access to their records very promptly. And some are, I guess, obstructive would be the kind way of saying it. So it does vary depending on where you are in the country.
Obstructive is kind. What would be an unkind way of saying it? Bloody minded?
Yes.
Hamish, surely in these days of modern technology and amazing Heath Robinson and stuff behind the scenes, it should be a hop, skip, and a jump to get this information, shouldn't it?
Well, the majority of the information, yes. I mean, there's some challenges relative to it, but you're quite right, it should be very, very easy. And what we managed, and I think we've spoken about this before, throughout sort of COVID, there were some councils. I mean, Heather does some incredible background work. So she's the one with superb knowledge about those councils, particularly who are holding. She gathers all the information, so right. she can sort of reveal all. But within COVID, you get situations like one of the councils I remember. I won't mention West Berkshire, but it happened to be them. What happened? They decided that, and there were several others, and Heather would know of the others, but West Berkshire, what they decided to do was to say, well, we can't do personal searches, we can't do regulated searches that you guys carry out, but we'll do the ones that we can do. And right. So they refused to actually move and do anything. Now, they didn't sort of do that for terribly long because obviously various things were done, various complaints were made, and under regulations that they're not permitted, they're not allowed to actually.
Well, that just sounds just obstructive to the highest degree.
It is. So, I mean, that was one of the worst sort of scenarios. But I mean, there were a few others. I mean, there are certainly other tactics, aren't there, Heather? I mean, you know better than me.
Yeah, well, we certainly have instances where some councils will treat their own clients preferentially to our members. So there are some where you have to apply for your building regs information. And if you're having an official search through the council, they are able to obtain that information in 3 or 4 days. But if you're applying for that information as an outsider to the council, they might make you wait 20 working days for it. And we argue the point regularly, but they always stick to the, if we're getting the information under EIR, which is the Environmental Information Regulations, they have 20 days, but the wording actually says as soon as is practicable and within 20 working days. But of course, they just like the 20 working days bit. And
they hang it out for the full length of the time.
They do. But just not all of them. Yeah, not all of them, but there are some that will do that. Yeah.
I mean, that seems at the very least obstructive and at the very worst childish.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. But when you're thinking that our members obviously are running their own businesses and are trying to provide a service for conveyancers throughout the country, what to them, their obstruction is actually affecting people trying to move house.
Well, of course, it's all consequential, isn't it? And it doesn't, especially if you're in a chain or anything else than that. And you can imagine there are multiple searches going on within that chain. You can imagine it all up.
Yeah.
You've got an unconscionable amount of extra time added on for no apparent reason.
Yes.
Hamish, what is to be done?
Well, we persevere. What we can do, we try, many of us as individuals, to actually approach the council. We're fortunate one of our team is very, very clever in terms of knowing the background, knowing the law, how we can approach the matter. We do end up on occasions, there's no way around it. They will not respond. They refuse to act. So you have to take them out to the Information Commissioner's office, and they have to have a certain. If you don't complain enough, they decide, well, it's not worth acting on. I remember with Wiltshire Council having a serious challenge. I had to actually send 80 complaints in before they would, because each time I requested access to looking at the information and they didn't respond, I sent a letter of complaint in. And they actually told me eventually, said, look, forget it. We will dictate. But it did take them nearly 8 months to do this sort of 80 sort of, it was just absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd.
So you had a way of exacerbating it, of escalating it, did you, at the time? Do you always have an escalation path?
No.
Sometimes you hit up brick wall, right?
Absolutely, and this is where we actually sort of say, really, they are being obstructive. We do have the occasional situation, and I don't quite know what's happened. We don't work with them any longer. We used to cover all the London boroughs, but Hackney Borough Council, they were hacked. Inappropriate name, I guess, but their council records were. And that was years ago now. Are they up and running yet, Heather?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't think they are fully up and running. I think parts of it are, but it's certainly, I don't think they're back to how they were. But yes, they were hacked and they weren't able to do any searches at all for a very long time.
So if you're going to move to within the Hackney Borough, one should possibly think twice.
Yeah, at the moment, yes.
It'd take you an awful long time to get the whole thing sorted out.
I think the worst aspect of the whole thing, relative to these obstructive councils, is the fact that their very own people, their very own residents who are actually paying for their salaries, are the ones that are doing the moving, and they're the ones that are being obstructive. Being obstructed.
Yes.
They don't even sort of seem to recognise that particular sort of fact. There's all sorts of absurdities, and of course, as Heather explained earlier, when you've got something like 320 councils and they're all doing things a different way, they hide behind all sorts of different sort of things.
We mustn't forget that obviously some of the councils, and actually in my experience, the majority are actually very good, very helpful. They do what they need to do to help us get the job done. But as in every part of life, there are some that will just be as deliberately obstructive as possible. Obviously, there are instances where perhaps they can't do it because they're short-staffed for whatever reason, but sometimes it is just being awkward.
Is there some degree of standardization that can be put in place here?
Well, that's what really Land Registry are trying to do in terms of the land charges, and they're in the process of digitising the land charges information from all of the councils. It's taken them a long time. They've currently got just over 80 councils have migrated to the register.
Out of a total of
the 300 odd, so and that's supposed to be finished by the end of this year, isn't it, Hamish? So,
I think we had laugh at that stat once before. If they'd done less than a quarter,
exactly, it's not going to get done. But what people don't always realise is that what's happening there is just the land charges part of the search. That will be digitised, and so yes, there are some of the councils in my area that I can now get the information for the land charges instantly. Whether it's correct or not is another question, and that's for another day. But I can get it instantly. But that doesn't include building regulations, highways information, and and any number of other things that you need to be able to provide the buyer with all the information that they require. So whilst that is being standardised and digitised, it's a long time before they get to the stage where everything else is available at the same speed.
Now, at the expense of banging on about an old topic, old friend, we did mention before the benefit of going to a specialist as opposed to a generalist.
Absolutely. And this is one of the great things. And one of the advantages, I mean, it's a marvellous team, actually. The whole IPSA organisation. And I mean, both Heather and I have been sort of part of IPSA, that particular association, for a number of years, way back to the noughties, in actual sort of fact.
Right.
Because of that we do have a very, very good working relationship with the team. So if we have any solicitors in our area who are looking, there are people actually sort of moving to different parts of the country, because properties up in the north are darn sight cheaper. So you will find somebody in Oxfordshire, where we're based, they'll want to go up to Newcastle, they'll want to go to Shropshire, they'll want to go to Liverpool. And it's very, very easy through the organisation to just find that particular person with the local knowledge. Now, the great thing is there's an abundance of, but we don't have time to speak about the total value of what can be offered because of this local knowledge. But first of all, they know who to speak to. Now, as I just mentioned briefly earlier there, that land charges are taking over a particular operation. Now, they don't know what a land charge is. I mean, possibly many of the listeners don't, but don't worry too much about it. You would think if land charges were being provided by Land Registry, they would know something about what they were supplying. They don't. So if any query comes up, they can't help you. So what are you going to do? Well, you've got to go back to the council again.
Yeah.
As you said, streamlining would be marvellous. Give it back to the council because it was a darn sight quicker.
Hamish, would you like to summarise an overall response to the question, which was, does a local authority search hold up?
It can.
It can, and it should, and it will do.
I think if you're working with the right team, if you're working with the right person, something which comes up quite frequently, in fact, just about every time we speak as a quorum, when we speak on Thursdays, and we've got a legal representative there, we've actually got the property developer there as well. We speak about this communication and the choice of the right person to help in the whole of the conveyancing process.
Critical. Find the right people. Ideally, someone who's a specialist and not a conveyancing automaton, and then try and build a relationship that means that you have proper communication, and that will lead you potentially to success. Thank you very much indeed for taking time out of your busy days to be with us. First of all, let me thank you, Heather. Thank you, Heather, for being with us from Shropshire Property Search. And Hamish McLay of Search and Convey. My name is Gareth Wax. We meet here every Friday. Please do come along. We'll also do check out, shameless plug, 10 o'clock on Thursdays. All you have to be is see me or find Hamish, and you'll find it will be at the top of our profiles. But also if you just search for Property Quorum. Thank you very much, one and all. I hope everybody has a marvellous weekend. And of course, I wish you all wonderful mental health. Goodbye.